In today's video, I would like to share with you how I knit a 2-stitch I-cord bind off in the round without the jog. I find that I get better results if I change to a needle one size smaller than I used for the stockinette stitch to avoid baggy stitches. So I'm switching from the larger needle to the smaller one. And move all my stitches onto the smaller needle. Step 1. I will work the first 2 stitches as knit stitches and return them knitwise onto the left needle tip. This is the reason for the first step, because this is a circular knitting or spiral knitting. If I proceed with the I-cord right away, I will have a jog. And I like my edge to be jogless like this. I knit the first 2 stitches, as usual from left to right, to elevate the beginning of the row in order to avoid the jog. This is the marker of the beginning of the row, and these are the first 2 stitches. And then I return these 2 knit stitches knitwise back onto the left needle tip. Step 2. I work the first stitch as a knit stitch, then the following 2 stitches I slip off the left needle tip knitwise and knit them together and return the 2 stitches knitwise onto the left needle tip. Knit the first stitch as usual from left to right. Slip off the second stitch knitwise and the third stitch knitwise. Return them back onto the left needle tip. And now knit them together, inserting the right needle tip from right to left, like this. And return both stitches knitwise back onto the left needle tip. I repeat step 2 until the end of the row. Knit the first stitch, slip the second and the third stitches knitwise, return them back onto the left needle tip, knit them together from right to left. And return the 2 stitches knitwise onto the left needle tip. And again, knit the first stitch, slip off knitwise the second and the third stitches, return them back onto the left needle tip, knit them together from right to left, and return the resulting 2 stitches knitwise onto the left needle tip. Again, knit the first stitch, slip knitwise, slip knitwise, Return back onto the left needle tip. Knit 2 together from right to left. And return knitwise back onto the left needle tip. Repeat. Knit the first stitch. Slip knitwise. Slip knitwise. Return back onto the left needle tip. Knit together from right to left. Return 2 stitches, knitwise back onto the left needle tip. One more time, knit the first stitch, slip knitwise, slip knitwise, return back onto the left needle tip, knit the 2 stitches from right to left together, and return the 2 stitches knitwise onto the left needle tip. Knit the first stitch, slip knitwise, slip knitwise, return back onto the left needle tip, knit 2 stitches together from right to left, and return the 2 stitches back onto the left needle tip, knitwise. And I will continue, and I will meet you at the end of the row to show the jogless connection in the circle. I finished the row, and I have 2 stitches on the right needle tip. I'm going to leave a yarn tail of approximately 15-20 centimeters or 6 to 8 inches. And I'll thread it on my tapestry needle. Before binding off, I will check my last 2 stitches, making sure they're not baggy. I tighten them a little bit. First, I'm going to bind together the last stitch of the row with the first horizontal stitch at the front of the row. I insert the tapestry needle back to front into the last stitch of the row, like this. And pull the yarn tail through. And slip that stitch off the needle. If you take a closer look at the horizontal stitches, they appear to have a longer side and a shorter side. Shorter side, longer side, shorter side, longer side. The longer side sort of overlaps the shorter side. And we need to find the first horizontal stitch, and I will insert the tapestry needle under both loops from the shorter side, like this. And pull the yarn tail through. This is to maintain the same turn of the stitches. And now I bring the stitches a little bit closer to each other, like this, to form a new stitch, a connecting stitch, and insert the tapestry needle front to back into the last stitch, like this. Making sure that the stitches are of the same size. So at this point I can make some small corrections like this. So now when I checked and it looks nice, I can proceed with the second stitch. I took the tapestry needle back into my left hand for convenience and pull the needle back in position like this. So I'm going to connect the last stitch on the needle with the first horizontal stitch of the back row. I insert the tapestry needle back to front into that stitch like this and pull the yarn tail through. And now I can remove the needle. So I'm going to connect the stitch in this position. So here again, if we look closer at the horizontal stitches of the I-cord, they appear to have longer and shorter sides, with the longer side overlapping sort of the shorter side. And I insert the tapestry needle from the short side under both loops of the first horizontal stitch, like this. Pull the yarn tail through, and then insert the tapestry needle second time, front to back, into the last stitch, like this. Now I formed the second connecting stitch, and I check that the stitches are of the same size. Now if I look at the back, there is a certain way how I like to weave in the yarn tail so that it's as little visible as possible. I find the top loop of the nearest purl stitch and go back to front into that purl stitch like this. And then front to back into the next purl stitch on the left, like so. And just to remove temporarily the yarn tail to show you the result, I will bring the yarn tail to the other side, like this. So we can take a look at the back of work. And this is the end of the spiral. And I think it looks very neat. What I like is that the stitches look aligned and they have the same turn. And also at the front of work, the same. I'm just going to remove the yarn tail again to the other side, out of the way, so we can observe everything without obstacles. Here it is. Check that everything looks nice and neat. This is the marker of the beginning of the row. And the stitches look aligned. They have the same turn. There is no jog. And the back of work looks neat. Let's say we have a really baggy stitch. I'm going to pull this stitch a bit to make it really big, just in case this happens, and it does happen sometimes. So there is no need to unravel the whole work. This can be fixed. I'll place a marker on this stitch so we know where it is. And I'll place another marker on the stitch of the front row of the I-cord here. So the pink marker is slightly forwarder than the yellow marker. And I'll show you how the baggy stitch can be fixed. So I'll pull the right side of the stitch a bit to make it smaller. And actually it's easier this way. So I pull the right side of the stitch a bit to make it smaller, like this. And the right side of that stitch is connected to the left side of the stitch at the front. So I pull out the left side of the stitch at the front. And now if you look, the stitch at the back looks normal size. Now let's fix the stitch at the front. I will pull out the right side of the stitch. And the right side here is connected to the left side of the stitch below the pink marker. Again, the right side of the stitch at the front is connected to the left side of the stitch at the back, like this. And I fix now this stitch, pull the right side to make it smaller, and the right side again corresponds to the left side of the stitch at the front. And the right side here corresponds to the left side of the stitch at the back. Again, right side at the back corresponds to the left side at front. And the right side of the front corresponds to the left side of the stitch at the back. The right side at the back, and the left side at the front. The right side at the front, and the left side at the back. Right side at the back, and left side at the front. And by doing this, I'm gradually redistributing the extra length of yarn from the baggy stitch to make the stitches look even without unraveling the whole work. So I pull the stitches less and less until there is very little of that extra length of yarn left, and then I will stop. So we're almost there. Yeah, and it's finished. So now if we look at the stitches, let me remove the markers. The stitches look even, and at the back where we had this super large stitch, we don't have that super large stitch anymore. And we did this without unraveling the whole work. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.